Setting up the presentation for customers that are looking for coverage for Lyft or Uber. Now, these situations are completely different. So, number one, educate the customer on the concept of Uber and Lyft. It's not the regular commercial policy simply because they're actually transporting passengers from one destination to the other, versus a commercial policy could possibly be a contractor going from one place to another, but within their job duties, but not transporting passengers from one place to the other. So sell the risk and exposure of these policies technically because they're driving all day. They're constantly nonstop driving. They're going from one place to another. They're picking up another passenger where they're dropping off their previous passenger. So technically for 6, 7, 8 hours, they're driving all day. So that's an exposure that companies are not willing to take simply because the more they're on the road, the more possibilities of them being involved in an accident. Now, companies want to stay away from that simply because if you're driving all day long, there's a higher chance, higher possibility that they're going to be responsible for a claim. That means they're losing money because they're paying money out of pocket. Number two, introduce a loss ratio. Introduce how the loss ratio affects the rates, and based on the losses that they encounter, that's how they determine what rates to offer. Companies that pay a lot of money to cover accidents are companies that eventually they're going to go bankrupt, or they're companies that may not even consider taking a risk of Uber and Lyft simply because they don't want to put themselves in that position where they're going to be paying money out of pocket. Technically, everything is based on statistics. If they have statistics and there's an indication that a certain risk is going to be more of a probable accident and they're going to lose money, it may not be worth it because $300-400 cannot be compared to $5,000-6,000. So therefore, companies are cautious about situations like Uber and Lyft. Number three, not every company offers coverages for this risk. Explain that we have 2 companies out of 70 different companies that are willing to offer coverages. Now, the only difference is that these companies may not offer the lowest option simply because there's only 2 options to choose from. The majority of the companies are not going to offer coverage simply because they don't want to take the risk. Number 4, offer the idea that the rates are going to be higher. Just for the sake of the scenario, if the payments are over $280, for instance, you're not going to offer a regular approximate of $260 to $270. You're going to test the waters by giving them the idea that everything is over $200. So you're going to test the waters simply because the monthly payment is going to be pretty high. Most likely they're not going to be satisfied. So you don't want to disclose the exact monthly payment or the exact approximate unless they're ready, they're willing, and they're going to be okay with the approximate. So you're going to introduce an idea, a ballpark, that the rates are over $200. If the customer is not happy with the $200, we could take a different approach. If the customer is okay, satisfied, and willing to pay over $200, you're going to continue the process just as a regular situation. You're going to offer an actual approximate. You're going to justify the rate. You're going to add value, and you're going to offer the exact monthly payment. But at this point, if the customer is not satisfied with the ballpark, with the over $200, you are going to have to introduce a temporary option. Now, the temporary option is technically a personal policy for now until they actually obtain a policy that's going to give them what they're looking for. Now, number one, you're just going to educate them and you're going to give them the option. It's not so much about selling them a policy. You're just going to tell them, look, everything is over $200, so you have 2 options. At least you can take care of a basic policy. You're not going to have coverage if you're driving the vehicle, and you're working for Uber or Lyft, but at least you'll have what the law requires, and the registration won't be suspended. You get pulled over, you have insurance, temporary until you figure things out. Now, number 6, you're definitely going to give them an idea of the approximate just to test the waters. Number 7, you're going to educate the customer on the risk of the personal and the commercial policy. You're going to emphasize on the fact that the temporary option is just for now, just so that they can leave with insurance. So just in case they get pulled over, just in case the DMV requires proof of insurance, they have the basic liability. Or even if they want to go with full coverage, maybe the finance company is requesting comp and collision. So this is a temporary option. Now, once again, it's very important. You need to educate them. You need to let them know that for Uber and Lyft, there's no coverage whatsoever. But if they're willing and they're interested in a temporary option, simply because they may not even find an option that they're going to be willing to pay for, just offer the information and let the client choose. If they're not interested in a personal temporary option, then just reschedule, leave it as a low ball option of over 200, and just let them know that just in case they want to come back, they want to give us an opportunity, we're willing to help them at any point, at any time, just to shop around, to get all the options, to get the right information, simply because there's a lot of agencies out there that may not offer the information that we are. At least we're being upfront, we're being honest, we're giving them the difference between a personal and a commercial policy versus a lot of agencies. They're not even going to give them an option, they're not going to offer any information for the commercial policy, simply because they know that it's a lot and they know that most likely the client is not going to be satisfied.